Joining us now for the first time in 2023, Friday regular, ESPN hockey commentator, of course, one half of the Dregs Hockey Podcast here on the Go-Goat Sports family of podcasts, Mr. Raymond Ferraro. Happy New Year. How you doing?
Great. How are you guys? Happy New Year to you both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, doing well.
How did the household survive Canada, USA in the semis? Everyone intact? Any feelings?
Yeah, no, different. Cammie's been here 20 years, right? And so, she just got her Canadian citizenship, and so she has, both sides of the paper now, and she loves watching the tournament from the Canadian perspective. And of course, she's always a U.S. born, U.S. first, and but when you watch in any sport, it seems like now that the way the rivalries have all evolved, it's Canada and the United States. It's it's going to become that way for us in soccer if it already isn't. It certainly is in hockey. The more NBA players we push out, now we'll be able to step on a toe once in a while there. And so I think she like me, I love watching when the two countries play, because you don't need any buildup. It just is.
Well, good job in assimilating her. We got one of the U.S.'s best now. I don't know about you fellas. We've all covered the tournament at different points in our career. I know, Ray, it must have been tough leaving TSN to leave that assignment, because that World Junior was everything that we know and love about the tournament. I mean, Blake did his editorial yesterday that it got its mojo back. And, boy, was there anywhere else in the hockey world you'd rather be yesterday than Halifax, Nova Scotia, taking that one in.
You know what, Matt? That's the best of the tournament in the size of the venue and the size of the city. Yet I totally understand why they went to the NHL venues. I mean, there's 11,500 or there's 18,000. We can all do math. I mean, we can all do that. But I was talking, I traded some texts with Bob and through the tournament, and he just said it was one of the very best. That that everywhere you went, the tournament was, basically in the store windows. It was on the people's lips. It was everywhere you went. It was the World Junior Tournament, and I've only been in and out of Moncton. I don't really know Moncton as well, but Halifax is a tournament city. It really is. And, I know there's people saying, they should get an NHL team there. There's 400,000 people, 1 million in the province. It's not an NHL city, but it's a tournament city. I remember actually the year Cammie and I got engaged, which would have been 2002, the Women's Worlds were in Halifax. And it was amazing. I was stunned with the enthusiasm, the passion, the support. It was everywhere. And this tournament, I mean, given the way it finished from a viewing perspective, how could it have been better? It really couldn't.
What cities could be a reasonable facsimile for that? I think it's time to go back to Saskatoon, Ray. And then if you're going non-NHL city, I'm talking to use this recipe. Does Quebec City, I just don't think of them as being as exuberant, particularly for the Canadian flag for a number of reasons and all that. Would Quebec City be able to do this too, do you think?
Well, that's a really good point. Is there outside, because it's not just the Canada games, it's the tournament.
Yeah. And
so Hockey Canada and the organizers would have to do some research. Are people interested in a Sweden-Finland game?
Right.
I don't know the answer, but certainly in Halifax they were. Craig Button was in Moncton and he said it was amazing. It was awesome. Yeah. So you need two places. I see the benefit of having it if there's two venues in the same city. I also see the great benefit of spreading it to two different cities if they're in close proximity. Saskatoon feels like it's about time to go back. the second venue becomes the real issue. I mean, you saw yesterday and the day before, 3 games in the one day. That's pretty heavy on the ice, and you don't want to run into that late in the tournament. They managed it; it was all fine, it was all great. But don't forget the tournament is not. It came back to Canada again because of this tournament was supposed to be in Russia. And clearly it wasn't going there. So, it's been in Canada a lot. It'll spread out. It'll go to Sweden next year, I think, then the United States. So it's not like you're getting into these cities every year. They're going to be spread out a little bit more.
Novosibirsk, boy, the boys who we still know on that beat, they dodged a bullet there, didn't they? Whoa. Novosibirsk.
When we went to Ufa, when I heard that the flight from Moscow to Ufa was 4.5 hours, I'm like, I know a map. Russia looks pretty big.
Yeah.
I'm like, 4.5 hours? So after I fly to Frankfurt and then to Moscow, I got to fly from Vancouver to Toronto again?
Yep.
Yeah.
We got there, and I got there with no luggage either. I mean, shocker. We're going that far. And so I got no luggage, but I was told bring one suit and a change of underwear in your carry bag.
Just in case.
Right.
Just in case. And I'll tell you, the folks got a good look at that suit for the first week, I'll tell you. I hope they enjoyed it.
Not multiple ties? Don't you just change up the tie and you can wear the same suit? No,
that would be strategizing, Matt. I had one tie.
Okay. All right.
They didn't give me that instruction.
All right, let's get on the ice.
Yeah, for sure.
Your thoughts on the man of the moment. And he was held pointless, Connor Bedard, in the final. He was a distraction, though. Let me ask you that then. We all know he was great in the tournament as a whole. Did you want more out of him in the final, or was the distraction and the plays that he made good enough for you in the final?
Well, I think people forget how hard it is to score, even if you are Bedard, how hard it is to create offense sometimes. And, every time he went on the ice, Czechia had those 2 monsters on defense. Juracek and number 24. I can't see if I was doing the tournament, I'd have his name and I'd tell you where he's from. But number 24, who stopped Bedard a couple of times in overtime, 1-on-1. I thought he did just a fabulous job against him. So I wasn't disappointed. I love to see him shoot. I love to see him create. I love to see him score. Just a remarkable tournament. I did think, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I had it sent to me, so I did see it, and then I saw it by happenstance on TV. Was his overtime winner, and they videoed the monitor wall in the truck. And so, we see one picture on TV. The director and the producer are looking at this monitor wall. I don't know how many monitors are in there. I went in there one time during a live broadcast, and I was in there for about 4 minutes, and I turned around and left. I'm like, I can't even understand what the hell's going on here. But it was about 9 looks of all these different cameras focused on what each cameraman focuses on. That's why we get the shots we get. But to watch Bedard do his thing where he circled back around and he was finding the ice, and then he cuts to the middle. It's wonderful stuff. I mean, what a great tournament. What a great watch it was to watch him play.
Number 24, Matyas Shapovalov, to which my better half asked me, is Dennis's brother playing for our team? I said,
yes.
No. He's playing for
by?
The other guys. Drafted by the Vegas Golden Knights, 48th overall, actually, last year, a second-round pick. So,
there you go. Boy. Another 6'4" defenseman for Vegas.
Yeah.
There you go.
Road paved with gold.
See, you were going there, although you were going there and bringing up that old wound. I was going to bring up another old wound with Mr. Ferraro at the risk of rehashing Ron Francis's career. Is Connor Bedard a generational talent, Ray Ferraro?
I actually saw ink spilt on this in one paper. They actually debated the word generational too. Believe it or not,
I'm asking the question and now I'm ducking.
Okay, so here's the thing: how long is a generation?
My question years? Exactly, Ray. Like, is it too soon? Years? Is it too soon after McDavid to call him generational? Because I think he's generational, if not for McDavid being less than 10 years in the league.
I don't know. But there is nobody like Connor McDavid. There just isn't. And people can kick rocks all they want, and I would tell them to keep continuing to kick their rocks. I watched him December 30th in Seattle. I'm between the benches. He had 5 points in 16 minutes. He went by me in the middle of the ice a couple of times like nobody else can go by that position on the ice. Scored a goal and 4 assists. It's like he is at a completely different level. And I'll be honest, when I watch Connor Bedard play, I mean, I am fascinated. But I'm fascinated because I'm trying to figure out what he's going to be at the NHL level. Because I can't quite put my finger on it. Now, we're older, so we'll get this reference. A lot of people will probably go, who the hell was that? But anyway, when I watch him, maybe it's the number, maybe it's the handedness, but he looks a lot like Marcel Dion to me. Mm. Now, people might say, oh, Marcel Dion, I don't know, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's a pretty damn good player. And if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he sure as hell should be. I think Bedard will score at a really great rate in the NHL. But to think he's going to go there and get 150 points, I don't see it. That it's too hard to score, and that's what McDavid does that makes it amazing. It makes it amazing. I think his size at some point will be a challenge because he's going to be playing.
Do you envision him down the middle at all?
I see him kind of that, kind of that morph sort of guy. Kind of goes a little bit here, a little bit there. So it does me in my own head no good to compare him. I saw somebody compare him to Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux's 6'5". Like it doesn't even make any sense. No. So I look at. Unfortunately, I've got to put him in a box of other smallish guys because he's not a huge guy. I look at Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski was a centerman, played some wing, played some center, played some wing, got close to 450 goals. Connor Bedard's at a different level than Joe Pavelski, but I look in that framework, and I'm really having a tough time placing him as to your question, Matt, as a generational guy. I think he's without question the most exciting player that I've seen in some time. Like he's a 17-year-old kid that took the tournament and put it in his back pocket.
That's it.
Like it's crazy to do that at that age.
Can you imagine if he had just he's not slow, and the overtime winner is proof of that, of his quickness. But can you imagine if he had McDavid's speed or anything resembling that? Like there's a couple times last night where I thought, oh, if he just could have gone wide on that guy, but he was quick, but just not quick enough.
Right,
man, that final ingredient would put him into the McDavid stratosphere, I think.
Now, Steve Dryden, the infamous quizmaster at TSN, who has just got a remarkable ability to look at things that you might not think about. He calls Connor McDavid the most evolved player ever. And when I look at McDavid, I keep coming up with like the parts of McDavid when they put him together in the shop, They all were perfect. He's the right size. He's the right weight. His legs are long. He covers ice like incredibly efficiently. And Bedard's different. And here's the other thing about Bedard is like, so clearly he's lapped the field as the number one pick, right? He's going to go to a really rotten team unless somebody
moves heaven and earth. Yeah.
Or gets lucky.
But they can only go from 3, right? You can only go from 3 to 1. Yeah. So he's going to next year, the challenge of going to the NHL with a team that's not very good. If I draft Connor Bedard, my next order of business is in free agency. I'm starting to find 4 guys that I'm going to pay. 2 of them are going to play with him. 2 more are going to play on the power play with him. Like I have to support that kid as he takes a step because the expectation is going to be enormous.
Yeah. You make yourself a one-line team at the very least. just to support him.
Yeah.
You can't just throw him off into the water and say, hey, I know you're a great player, and so go ahead and play.
Make magic.
Well,
good luck.
A few things here. First of all, Marcel Dion is 6th overall in NHL all-time scoring. That is pretty income. Hey, he's 17 behind Ron Francis going into the top 5.
I didn't know that. 6th?
Yeah, Dion is 6th, 1,771 points, and your boy Francis was 1,798. So, and Yzerman is 7th. So, I can understand the Lemieux comparison in terms of the hands. The way he works his hands kind of reminds me of Mario, but obviously the rest of the package is different. The hybrids, guys, is becoming a thing. Like, I'm very comfortable with JT Miller taking faceoffs. I'm just not comfortable with JT Miller playing the 200-foot defensive center ice game. And then I'm very glad Ray said what he did about McDavid. We're going to put you down for franchise player on our poll question as opposed to generational.
I can accept that. Yep,
okay.
I can accept that for sure.
Just because somebody asked me from a non-sporting media the other day, like comparing to Connor McDavid, and I said, I just don't think we've seen people do things at speed like Connor McDavid does. Right. And until he can do that, I'm not sure he's quite that level. But again, I feel terrible here nitpicking a 17-year-old who, as you say, just dominated.
Well, 17-year-old that 20. Good.
Yeah.
Hey? Yeah. 17-year-old that good. It's almost like this generational thing. Every time I see, here's the GOAT, and there's like 16 GOATs before. Are they the GOAT of the week?
Yeah.
Or,
yes.
There's
a good feature for our show, GOAT of the week. Everything has to be hyperbole and big, right?
No, exactly. Yes. Oh, my God. He's the greatest of all time this week.
This week. Are you done with Bedard? I want to dovetail to something else from the...
Sure. The only thing I wanted to say is, Ray, how about the comment? We've had him on the show 3 times. We have people who work with us who know his family pretty well. So we had gotten the early word that, look, this is a really mature kid as well. Like, he's probably prepped for everything that's coming his way. But how about the answer to the question? Hey, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about this team at the end of all that. Amazing.
Well, it would be easy to answer that question without even thinking because of the excitement and everything going on in that moment. He really looks like a very, very poised person. Like he just, he actually, in that moment, he was able to think about it and make the answer that really was a pretty terrific answer. Because I'm sure a lot of guys and girls in that moment with the stadium coming down on you or just recently would say, oh, it was unbelievable. I had a great tournament and, without even really thinking. And he didn't. That speaks to a little bit different level of maturity, I think.
Closer to Sid there than Connor, maybe in that case. Shane Wright probably had dreams not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, that he could do what Connor Bedard just did in this tournament. Didn't go that way that early, at least for Wright. He's and now a year older. I thought he had a better tournament than he probably did. He probably wants to be that guy leading the team and all that, but I thought he looked pretty good. And yet Ron Francis decides today that he's going to let him play out the rest of the season in junior. What are your thoughts on that? Did you get to see him as a member of the Kraken in the brief looks? Yeah. You did, okay,
yeah, 100% the right decision.
Yeah,
and there's a couple of reasons why. So I think Shane played 9 or 10 games, or 8 or 9 rather, in Seattle. I think he averaged about 9 minutes a game. I don't know if you saw the NHL scores last night. Seattle went into Toronto and kicked them in the pants, 5-1. Seattle's in a playoff spot. It's crazy in year 2, but this is not the time to throw a 19, now 20-year-old into the middle of the NHL and say, gee, I hope you can play the position. They're not going to do it.
And defend leads late and get us into the playoffs.
It's just not going to happen. So, we talked about the mid-sized city versus the big city in the juniors, and I said we can all do math. So let's do a little more math. They paid close to $700 million in expansion fee. The rink is $1 billion. $1 billion. They wrote it. They wrote the check. They built the rink in Palm Springs. That's, I think, $200 million. That's a lot of zeros. Guess what? They'd like to be in the playoffs. They'd like to build something sustainable. And so what Ron clearly is looking at is they're getting a look at Matt Beniers, and he's a really good player. like a really good young player. I watched him those 2 games in Seattle, the 30th against Edmonton and the first against the Islanders. And for the most part, he looked like he was 20. Like he looked young. But he's their number 1 center. He's got to play against the big boys all the time. So you can't throw Wright into that as well. I think this is the best thing for Shane Wright. I like the tail end of his tournament. Like I think he's gotten a bit of a bad knock. Like his goal last night, that's not a common goal.
No.
You know,
it's almost as good as the Bedard overtime
on the backhand.
Goal.
Like that's an incredible.
Yeah, but
goal.
to get through this quick, the quick step and the move to the middle, and I was like, man, that's an uncommon play. And so I not surprised. It's the right choice, and he's another kid that looks like he's got his feet pretty firmly planted where he goes. And if you're building a team and you're looking at, gee, now we've drafted Beniers and we've drafted Wright is a potential 1 and 2 center for our organization, and they're both 20. We're pretty good right there.
Plus, sending him down, boy, Ron France is all over this interview. You should tell him.
Totally.
Right? Secondly, keeps the rookie wave going in Seattle. Beniers this year, also Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners, the Seahawks had all these great rookies, so they'll have another great rookie next year in Seattle with the Kraken. What do you make of Guenther? Because, I mean, he's the goal-scoring hero last night, and he is the guy who would be the Vancouver Canuck, Ray, if not for the OEL Connor Garland
saying nothing
trade.
of Stankoven, who could have been a Canuck too. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it's the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah,
that trade it just keeps giving. I'm interested in him to see how he will get around the ice to shoot the puck at the NHL level, and I know it's kind of a tried and true criticism or critique rather of junior players that score at that level and look like, oh my gosh, they're gonna score all the time. I would say the one guy that always gives me pause about looking at their skating as a junior and projecting them forward and maybe being wrong on it is Mark Stone. I don't know if you remember him in Edmonton. He scored every game. I think he had a 4-goal game at that time. It was either my first or second tournament. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He reminded me of Tim Kerr in the slot. Like kids were trying to lift his stick and, you know, good luck. It's like it was cemented to the ice. Like, geez, I don't know if he'll skate well enough. Skates well enough, smart enough. I don't know if Guenther does because we haven't seen enough of it yet. But my goodness, the kid can shoot the puck, man. He can, and he's got a nose to get to the net. He didn't skate himself out of position on the 2-on-1. He skated himself to a position to shoot it. And that's a pretty good 5th-round pick, I think. The kid that fired the puck over there, Waugh, from Montreal.
He had a good tournament,
too. Did he ever? Yeah. Boy, Stone, like he's a below-average NHL skater, and he's a terrific defensive player now too. Like,
he's also one of my favorite players because he's an unmade bed from the second he comes to the rink. Like his hair is all over the place. His tie is never straight. His gloves are always falling off, and he's just so good. I love watching him play.
Ray, are you telling me you're not crisp and snappy as a traveler showing up to the rink immaculate? Is this what I'm getting here?
Oh, no. I just think it's amazing that he looks like somebody told him, hey, the game's at 7, not 7:30. And he's like, oh, I got to hurry. Yeah. Like, that's what it looks like all the time. I love it.
Yeah. As I watched Guenther, I thought, I like you went, look, it's not the NHL, but he may just be that guy that has the knack for scoring goals and getting in position. That he's able to make it work. Okay, Blake, you want to ask him about the Canucks? I know you wanted to get to this.
We're getting late, but your overall, I mean, this team is I mean, three wins, 3 losses. Nice win over the. I think we know what this team is. They are exactly what these last 10, 20 games have shown us. The question is, what? How does that affect the price of bread the rest of the way? Like, you know, I'm sure management knows that too. So what do you do with that? Like, if you're the Canucks, do you just ride that out and just say this is what we are, or do you think they'll make some crazy decisions here? Because I think we know what they are right now at this point.
Well, what's a crazy decision?
Well, yes, I think the smart decision, but I think it's a disruptive decision to the room. And
I see. This is where I've probably thought it before, but it's kind of crystallized my thought. Is in particular about Bo Horvat and the just amazing year he's having. Is that okay? Let's say that you, as management, say, you know what, we've got to sign him. So you figure out how to sign him. You get the deal done. Now you got the same team. You're just paying more money for it. Like, how does that ever possibly advance you? It just doesn't.
And you fall in love. You fall in love with your own players, right? You just want to keep them all here.
But that's fine. Tampa Bay did, and they kept winning.
Yeah.
Until they didn't, and they said to Ryan McDonough, "Hey, guess what?
Yeah,
we gotta do something." So my point being, the 3 wins, 3 losses. I don't think anything changes in the view of what probably has to be done. Here's the one thing I will say. I know this for fact. Between January, what's today, 6th, and the end of January, because no teams have had them yet. Every team has their mid-season meeting, pro scouts, amateur scouts, player development guys. They all meet in some place, and they go through what the strategy is going into the trade deadline, strategy into free agency, which free agents should they start to focus on, strategy with amateur pros, like where are we going there, strategy with college free agents. It all crystallizes by the end of the month. So the teams have all been juggling the balls in the back up to now. Now the rubber hits the road. Like this month, things will start to happen, because anything that's going to happen is being decided in the next couple of weeks. And that's every team in the league is doing it between now and the end of January, because then you got 4.5 weeks or so to the deadline.
A lot of hard math in there, given the cap situation.
Boy. There's going to, I use this line all the time. There's, everybody's got a 3-pound jar of sand, and they're trying to put 4 pounds of sand in it. And and eventually it starts spilling over the sides, and you're like, oh boy. And there's no question. They have really difficult decisions. You got to find a dance partner, and everybody is looking for which partner they can dance with the best, not perfectly, but the best.